Hello there, it's CJ Miller. I'm in Shreveport, Louisiana. Across the Red River is beautiful Bossier City, Louisiana, and yay! And tomorrow is Flag Day. It was my intention to go to Columbia Park for Flag Day and the 100-year celebration of Columbia Park. Uh, and the people that I had planned to go with made other plans to do something else, and I just didn't feel like going over there all by myself. It just kind of took away my enjoyment of the event. So I decided to come home and uh, basically work on, the house, because I'm working on restructuring, rearranging everything, you know. And oh, let me walk you around. It's okay. So it's very cluttered in here right now, and that's because I pulled everything out of a lot of drawers. I'm just going through decluttering everything that gets shoved away in drawers, but also a lot of furniture arranging and everything. So which some of this I've posted in other videos before. And one of the reasons why it's taken me so long to do it is because I really do think uh, very well about how I want things to be arranged. I think one of the things is there's a keyboard in the dining area that I'm finding is kind of cluttering things up. I'm gonna have to move that somewhere. But other than that, it's kind of okay. Let's go inside and take a walk around. And as I've said, like I want to work on a smoother display for the tables. Uh, and so we'll work on what's going to be sitting out versus what's going to be put away. Some of this stuff is going to go into this dresser. Once I get it all cleaned off and cleared off and everything, I'm trying to decide what I'm going to keep, what I'm not going to keep, that sort of thing. A lot of you know, a lot of mail that needs to come out and be sorted through over the last few months that have just piled up. It's like I need to go through that. And then, of course, the big thing that I'm excited about, uh, so I'm doing some laundry there, some socks there too, is just the layout of this room, which basically, what Mike suggested when he started coming around a few years ago, that I need to get rid of the smaller tables that I had because I had two small tables, but they were kind of like in separate parts of the dining. He suggested that I might could get like a long table and for the narrow because it's a long room. And then he even suggested this T formation. But I was like, at first, I was like, well, he suggested just like one long table, but I'm like, I'm gonna get two long tables because I got them from Walmart, and of course, yay, I did eventually decide to form a T formation, but also I'm still trying to work out how I want the displays to be and everything because I want to open the space up so it'll be a little bit more open. And one of the things is that I've got to clear off these surfaces and I've got to think about, okay, what am I keeping? What am I not keeping? In the closets, what's in the closet that can go out to make more room for things that I want to keep. So it's going to be a few weeks of me just getting things in order. But I did decide I have enough company coming over. Usually Mike, sometimes one or two other people that will sit around and we'll watch TV or something like that. And it's like I kind of got tired of having people sit over here in the corner if they wanted to recline. So I swapped the recliners out, and I decided it's okay for them to be a little bit away from the wall. As a matter of fact, it's quite comfortable when that love seat is upright. It's quite comfortable to walk behind it now. So yeah, and then of course I think I showed the bedroom. I'm redoing the bedroom too. Hang on. So all these comforters and stuff, I'm kind of rearranging. I'm pulling them out, finding storage for them, or what's going to be on the beds, what's not going to be on the beds. So that's a big pile up in here. So the bedroom in there is not really made up right now, but it's just like everything. My big project for this room really is going to be getting into this roll top and just getting into what can be kept in here and what can't be kept, I should say. And then I've got so I downsized this. So And that's kind of cool. Gold chair with the mirrors and stuff like that. But I want to kind of. I don't really listen to the radio. The turntable on this thing does not work. The cassette tape does not work. The DVD does, I mean, not the DVD, the CD player does work. But all the CDs I can listen to digitally anyway. So I may just keep the CDs just to have them, but I'm thinking I may not keep the stereo. So if anybody out there in Shreveport, Bossier wants to get this old stereo, and then they can kind of work on whether they want to, I don't get needles or something like that for radios or something. I don't know. There is the the old radios that's in these kind of covers here. I think I'm gonna get some more, but I think the reason why these are on the wall is because the Bee Gees album was very important, and then of course to me personally, this Linda Ronstadt Greatest Hits collection was I don't know, it's very dear to my heart. This wasn't the one that I had, but I went through this phase in where I just fell in love with Linda Ronstadt's music. And it was in the 1980s when I was in like third or fourth grade, and she was just getting some videos on MTV. Uh, because back in those early days, they would play, if you had a video, they would play it. They were looking for content. They didn't have that much content in the beginning. And so she did the videos for the Get Closer album. Uh, and they were the first things. And then shortly thereafter, like almost immediately, within like a few months, because this like she really worked hard, album after album back in the 70s and 80s. It was like, oh my God, the amount of content she put out was just like, wow, you know. So sometimes two a year, you know. So it was like, wow. Uh, no wonder she was saturated into the market. But yeah, it was like she did the Get Closer album, and then within a few months of that, uh, she did the American Standards with Riddle Nielsen, and she started putting those albums out. And then of course, yay, you know, so which took up the bulk of her work in the 80s, you know. Uh, but yeah, but this particular collection, because I went through this, you know, around this time, I was like just loving Linda Ronstadt, and then retrospectively, I learned, oh my God, even before I knew who she was, I'd been listening to her music for years on my father's, uh, you know, country radio station. And he listened to country music in the car while we were driving and everything, because my father, you know, loves country music. And so it was like, wow, she's been doing everything, you know, for a long time. And so, yeah. And so this was like when I got myself together after being apart in pieces for some time. Uh, in the early 1990s, one of the first things I bought was a CD of this Linda Ronstadt Greatest Hit collection, and it was like it was literally one of the first things that I bought. I bought it before, or maybe the same trip. We had a place called the CD Warehouse, and I think I bought this one and a few other, you know, retrospectively, and then I bought the Madonna Immaculate Collection and also the Erotica album. And because she had not yet released anything, it was around that time, you know, that all this was going on. So it's like, yay! But so that's why that album's up there. And the Bee Gees, basically, I just happened to be in the store in the same place that I bought uh, that vintage album. I happened to have bought the Bee Gees because that was a very important album. Just um, it elevated pop music, funk, and club music, disco, basically before they even knew really what it was. The Bee Gees were helping to create the music. They didn't just do um, this soundtrack for Saturday Night Fever. Uh, but this music basically uh, changed what disco was. And then, of course, then there was the whole like punk and rock hard music against club music thing that was going on. So that was kind of cool. But and nevertheless, it really was important. And then the Bee Gees couldn't get a job after that, so they ended up writing, and that's something else. This album started their career of writing songs for other people, and they really did uh, change music. They changed music, the Bee Gees collectively. They changed popular music in the same way that Mike Nesmith changed music in the 60s and the early 70s and everything when he was, but in the 60s, really, when he was songwriting and with the Monkees. And he was also writing other things because, let's see, um, what's on here? Uh, I don't think it's here. Yes, Different Drum. Yes, Mike Nesmith wrote Different Drum, and he wrote a lot of the Stone Ponies era songs that he had a big influence, uh, and of course, Gay and the Monkees. They influenced music in the '60s and '70s, and then later on Nickelodeon when the Monkees was when they were playing in syndication or reruns or whatever on Nickelodeon. Uh, then a whole new generation discovered the children. The children discovered the Monkees music and loved it. But even before then, their songs were being covered. Anne Murray did a cover of "Daydream Believer" in the early uh, to mid '70s or something like that. So yeah, so it's kind of cool. That's one of the things I was talking about. Hang on. So I was talking to my friend Brad, and we went out to a meeting. And then after the meeting, I was supposed to go to Columbia Park, but like I said, those plans changed. But anyway, it wasn't the plans that I had with him then. But yeah. But anyway, that's why I came home and started working on the apartment again. But I was talking to Brad, and we were talking about how just right over here, that's the municipal auditorium. Right there, we had uh, the Louisiana Hayride, that was a radio program, and then later I think they did some television recordings, but it was over KWKH, and it was a music program that focused a lot on country music, but not entirely, not exclusively, and a lot of rock and roll got influenced right here. Let's wait for that train to pass. Actually, the train's not that bad when I'm inside, but outside, yeah, I can hear it. Okay, so that Louisiana Hayride uh, program really um, had a huge effect on American pop music, rock and roll, what became rock and roll. If you don't know, uh, and if you don't know, have you ever heard of Ledbetter Heights? Ledbetter Heights is basically what's also called the Bottoms. That's been changed, and it's basically where I'm sitting right now. There was a whole area back over here. That's a cemetery back there, and all this used to be like houses, just shotgun duplex houses, that kind of stuff. And it was called the Bottoms because it was at the bottom of a hill for what used to be St. John's Church. So it was called St. John's Bottom, basically. But also it was called Ledbetter Heights, named after Henry Ledbetter, who's also known as Huddy Leadbelly, you know. And so there's a commemoration that's going to happen in the next few months over in Morrisport, where he's buried, where people get together about once every year, usually held in October, where people get around and they bring guitars and they just kind of like sing his songs and everything. But he was very famous in particular, for being in prison. And he was discovered while he was in prison playing songs, and he actually earned parole from prison uh, for being discovered and being talented and everything like that. So there is a movie that Andy Griffith made, something face, eyes without a face, or man behind the face. I don't know what it is, but Andy Griffith basically is in prison, and he is discovered by a talent scout in prison playing a guitar. And that is basically the story of Henry uh, Leadbelly. And basically, so that's kind of cool. But his music is still performed today, but covered by so many people. Uh, uh, Credence Clearwater Revival uh, did a song called Midnight Special, but that was a song that was earlier performed by Leadbelly. I don't know if he wrote it or if he performed it, I don't know, but that song, the Credence Clearwater Revival, a Midnight Special, became the theme song for Midnight Special, which was a music program that started in the way, I think in 1971 or 72, and just stayed on the air all the way through the 80s, even through the MTV era. It stayed on the air in a lot of places. A lot of places eventually stopped picking it up, and I think it's now a defunct show. But that was great. It would be great to see that format brought back. But yeah. And of course, that program introduced a lot of rock and roll through as it evolved from folk music, combining with classical music, bits of jazz music, blues music. Rock and roll is an amalgam of everything that was heard and then brought together in sort of a mashup. Like it pulls from a lot of different influences. And it first, people started calling it rock and roll, I guess in the 1940s. The term rock and roll in the mid 1940s, rock and roll started to pop up in on a lot of blues and a lot of black music and a lot of regional black music, and gradually it kind of, it took about 10 years. It took about 10 years for it to really catch on, and cross over into mainstream. But in the mid 1940s is when the term rock and roll first started to pop up, and then yay, and then it was kind of like born out of soul. It was like gospel and soul sounds being made to create secular songs, music that was being played in church houses. Those tones and those feelings and everything, they were brought into secular music in the public, and became kind of mostly what rock and roll was about. You would take the church type music, and then also just anything that was being heard just kind of got folded in and blended together. And so when we say rock and roll, just the most gnarliest of heavy music that you could think of, it all comes all the way back to rock and roll. And rock and roll at its core is soul. It's jazz and soul, and just anything that's emotional and feeling. It's not just about singing songs about girls on a stripper pole. It's not just about rock and roll is their love songs, but they're expressions about love songs about physical love. Rocking and rolling with my baby. That means sex, and then so it became more okay to sing about and talk about those things, so that even in country music, where we had people in the 60s and 70s coming up like Conway Twitty singing sort of bluesy, kind of a wink to a sexual nature in some of the music. Acts like T.J. Shepherd, Barbara Mandrell sang a lot of bluesy songs to her country music. If you remember Barbara Mandrell and the Mandrell Sisters in the 80s, a TV show, variety TV show. So all that kind of stuff goes all the way back to Leadbelly, who was among the first to really start doing those types of songs. Rock and roll would not be rock and roll without Leadbelly. Now I know he's probably not the earliest influence, but his influence goes all the way back, I think, to the 1930s and 40s. Um, yeah, as I learn more about him, I'll kind of focus on that. I think what I want to do is I kind of want to focus on the next few months. I really kind of want to focus on the the cultural musical history of Shreveport. I always talk about how Shreveport is such an important, there's always lots of fun things to do, and I talk about its important culture. Well, right now there is a cultural shift that's going on in downtown Shreveport. And right here, these buildings, which used to be for storing building supplies for building these apartments that I live in now they've been incorporated into the G Unit studio right there. So, which is still in development. It's over the next 20 years we shall see. But as we're watching those projects, there are various projects for G Unit Studio that, as I walk around, there's property markings and fences and everything for projects that are waiting on. They just been approved, or they're still waiting for approval. Some of them, I think they just really just got approval for a lot of that. So basically, just the cultural growth of Shreveport. That's what I'm going to kind of be focusing on in the next few months of my video on my channel as I get out. I'm doing more than just rocking on a balcony out here, because I want this channel to get back to really what it's about, which is about me, but really it's about Shreveport and Bossier, and it's about how I want to share the love of my city with Shreveport and Bossier. And I'm going to be doing a lot more of that, which will help me focus. And it's going to be like, hey, when pop-up events happen, when go to farmers markets and go to, summer and spring fairs and things like that, I'll be doing a lot of that by myself to go around and explore, and I'll depend a lot less on my schedules linking up with what other people want to do, so that I don't have to worry about if they cancel on me last minute, then I get bummed out and in a bummy mood and don't feel like doing those things anymore. I don't want the enjoyment of these events to be taken away by relying on other people to keep me company. So sometimes someone told me a long time ago, and this rings true, that an individual's happiness, and basically he was talking to me, he was like, hey, your happiness is your own responsibility. And that's what I've got to remember, that my happiness is my own responsibility. And what makes me happy right now is sharing the idea of Shreveport's cultural influences on basically music that shapes the rest of the world. And a big point of origin is right here, right where I am sitting. This used to be Ledbetter Heights. And if you'll go find the record from Kenny Wayne Shepherd, who is from Shreveport, he graduated in I think he graduated in the 90s. I think he was 16 when he cut this album Ledbetter Heights. It just his father was a local concert promoter and that lived here and everything, and that yay. So it's a big blues influences, and the album's called Ledbetter Heights, inspired by the neighborhood. That of course there is still some of that a little further west of where I am, but this used to all be Ledbetter Heights, and so. As a matter of fact, if I were to take a walk just outside of the library that's downtown, that they're doing some renovations on, right outside of the library is a iron or metal statue of Leadbelly, and he's pointing. He's pointing in the direction of going down Texas Street, right here on this wall in front of that cemetery, and that's Sprague Street, and everything from over there to over here is a big part of used to be Ledbetter Heights, and then that is a cemetery, very historic cemetery. I think it's St. John's Cemetery, but I don't know. Okay, so anyway, and of course now it's known as West Downtown Shreveport. So, yay. Um, you know how through different eras, different areas throughout different areas will be known by different names, and I love. I don't know. I love getting into the history of where I live and knowing about it. I'm very proud um, of our history in Shreveport. There are obviously some historical moments that I'm not proud of. I'm not proud of the whole. I'm not proud of the whole the whole Confederacy era, and I would never celebrate that, especially now in this current era of knowledge and offense of what an offense that truly was. So I would never do like a Confederate flag or anything like that. But aside from all that, there is a lot of cultural significance that really did influence the world in a lot of good ways, in a lot of positive ways, and there are always ways to look at the positive and celebrate those things, and still holding accountability for the negative. And that's how I feel about police officers, by the way. I really feel that I can celebrate and honor police officers and still hold the bad police officers accountability. I just mentioned that as an example of how it is possible to celebrate good things and hold other aspects of those things accountable for their basically for what is wrong. So, I don't know. This was a lot of rambling, but basically it was just me just spending some time until a little bit later. It's a nice, breezy, balmy day, But yay. Love and light, everybody. Peace. Bye.